Literary periods. Historical timeline. Learning objective. Develop critical literacy skills by identifying major literary periods, understanding their historical contexts and influences, and analyzing the dominant literary styles, genres, and thematic concerns of each period. What are literary periods? Literary periods are distinct segments in the history of literature that are characterized by unique styles, themes, genres, and cultural contexts. These periods are typically defined by historical context, the time frame during which the literature was produced, influenced by significant historical events and social changes. Cultural movements, the prevailing cultural, philosophical, and artistic trends that shape the literature of the time. Themes and styles, the common motifs, writing techniques, and aesthetic preferences that are characteristic of the period. Why do they matter? Taking the time to read, research, and understand literary periods as part of your English studies is crucial for several reasons. Let's take a look at some of them. Contextual insight. Cultural and historical background. Knowledge of the period's historical and cultural background provides insight into the themes, characters, and settings of literary works. For example, understanding the impact of World War I can deepen one's appreciation of modernist literature, which often reflects disillusionment and a fragmented sense of reality. Author's background. Knowing the context in which an author lived helps readers understand their motivations, influences, and the societal issues they address. For instance, understanding William Shakespeare's life in Elizabethan England helps readers grasp how politics, social hierarchy, and the cultural Renaissance influenced themes like power, ambition, and human nature in plays such as Macbeth and Hamlet. Thematic and stylistic analysis. Common themes. Literary periods often share common themes and concerns. For instance, Romantic literature frequently explores themes of nature, emotion, and individualism, which can be contrasted with the rationalism and social critique found in the Enlightenment literature that preceded it. Evolving styles. Awareness of stylistic developments helps readers appreciate the evolution of literary techniques and genres. For example, recognizing the transition from the elaborate prose of the Victorian era to the more fragmented and experimental forms of modernism can enhance one's understanding of narrative techniques and innovations. Comparative studies. Influences and reactions. Literary periods often react to or build upon preceding periods. Understanding this dialogue between periods allows readers to see how literature evolves over time. For example, the realist reaction against Romantic idealism or the modernist departure from Victorian moralism highlights shifts in literary focus and technique. Interconnections. By studying different periods, readers can draw connections between texts and understand the broader literary landscape. This comparative approach enriches the reading experience and fosters a deeper appreciation of literary diversity. Literary appreciation. Enhanced reading experience. Knowledge of literary periods can enhance one's enjoyment and appreciation of literature. Recognizing the unique characteristics of each period allows readers to better appreciate the craftsmanship and originality of literary works. Broader perspectives. Engaging with literature from various periods exposes readers to a wide range of human experiences, perspectives, and artistic expressions, fostering a more comprehensive and nuanced understanding of literature as a whole. Historical timeline. To truly appreciate the evolution of literature, it's essential to understand a basic historical timeline of literary periods. Each period embodies their own unique cultural, social, and political contexts, influencing the themes, styles, and genres of the works produced. Ancient Greek and Roman civilizations. 800 BC to 500 AD. Ancient Greek and Roman literature is characterized by its exploration of epic poetry, drama, and philosophy. Key works like Homer's The Iliad and the Odyssey, along with Virgil's The Aeneid, highlight themes of heroism, fate, and the gods' influence on human affairs. This period saw the birth of tragedy and comedy in Greek theatre, with playwrights like Sophocles and Aristophanes, and the philosophical contributions of figures like Plato and Aristotle, which profoundly influenced Western thought. The medieval literary period. 5th century to late 15th century. The medieval period is marked by the dominance of religious and feudal themes in literature. Key events such as the Crusades and the Black Death influenced works like Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales and Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Literary styles favored allegory and romance, often reflecting the chivalric code and moral instruction, while genres ranged from epic poetry to miracle plays. Elizabethan literary period. 1558 to 1603. The Elizabethan period, under the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, saw a flourishing of English drama and poetry, characterized by a blend of classical and native traditions. William Shakespeare emerged as a pivotal figure with his tragedies, comedies, and histories, exploring complex human emotions and political intrigue. Themes of love, power, and identity were prevalent, while the era also saw the development of the sonnet form, notably by poets like Edmund Spenser and Philip Sidney. Jacobean literary period. 1603 to 1625. The Jacobean period, under King James I, continued the rich tradition of Elizabethan drama but with a darker and more cynical tone. Shakespeare's later works, such as Macbeth and The Tempest, along with the rise of playwrights like Ben Jonson and John Webster, reflect themes of corruption, ambition, and revenge. The era also saw a growing interest in metaphysical poetry, with John Donne leading the way in exploring complex philosophical and spiritual themes. Enlightenment literary period. 17th century to late 18th century. The Enlightenment was characterized by an emphasis on reason, science, and skepticism of traditional authority. Key figures like Voltaire, John Locke, and Jonathan Swift used satire, essays, and philosophical treatises to advocate for political reform and intellectual freedom. Themes of rationalism, progress, and human rights were central, with literary styles favoring clarity, wit, and argumentative prose. Romanticism literary period. Late 18th century to mid-19th century. Romanticism reacted against the Enlightenment's focus on reason, emphasizing emotion, nature, and individualism. Poets like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge explored the sublime and the beauty of the natural world, while Mary Shelley's Frankenstein delved into the darker aspects of human creativity and ambition. Themes included the glorification of the past, freedom, individualism, and a fascination with the supernatural and the exotic. Victorian literary period. 19th century. The Victorian period was marked by a strict social code, industrial progress, and a focus on morality and social reform. Charles Dickens and the Bronte sisters addressed the struggles of the poor and the injustices of the social system in novels characterized by detailed realism and complex character development. Themes of industrialization, class conflict, and domesticity were prevalent, with a rise in serialized fiction and the novel as a dominant literary form. Modernism literary period. Late 19th century to mid-20th century. Modernism reflected a break from traditional forms and an exploration of new narrative techniques and fragmented structures. Influenced by World War I, writers like James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, and T.S. Eliot experimented with stream of consciousness, unreliable narrators, and nonlinear timelines. Themes of alienation, existentialism, and disillusionment with modern society were central, as artists sought to capture the complexities of the human psyche and the chaos of the modern world. Postmodernism literary period. Mid-20th century onwards. Postmodernism is characterized by its skepticism of grand narratives, embrace of paradox, and blending of genres and styles. Authors used metafiction, pastiche, and irony to challenge traditional notions of reality and meaning. Common themes in postmodern literature include the fluidity of identity, the impact of technology and media, and the playful deconstruction of literary conventions. Post-colonialist literature. Mid-20th century onwards. Post-colonialism examines the effects of colonialism and imperialism on cultures and societies, focusing on themes of identity, power, and resistance. Writers from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds explore the complexities of post-colonial identity, cultural hybridity, and the lingering impacts of colonial rule. Literary styles often incorporate oral traditions, magic realism, and a mix of native and colonial languages. Feminist literature. Late 19th century to present. Feminist literature challenges patriarchal structures and advocates for gender equality and women's rights. Pioneers like Virginia Woolf and Simone de Beauvoir addressed the oppression and marginalization of women, using both fiction and non-fiction to explore themes of identity, autonomy, and societal roles. Contemporary feminist writers continue to tackle issues such as intersectionality, body politics, and the diverse experiences of women across cultures. Contemporary literature. Here and now. Contemporary literature reflects the diverse, globalized world of today, often addressing current social, political, and technological issues. Authors explore themes of multiculturalism, identity, environmentalism, and the impacts of digital technology. The literary landscape is marked by a blend of traditional and experimental forms, with a focus on multiple and diverse perspectives and voices. Your task. Activity time. Your task is to choose one of these literary periods, conduct research about your chosen topic, and represent your findings visually in a poster, infographic, or presentation. Include the following information: time period, overview, key events and/or movements, literary stylistic characteristics and genres, common themes and important authors and/or texts. Include the following: time period, brief overview, key events and/or movements, key stylistic characteristics and genres, common themes, influential authors and/or iconic texts. Let's wrap up. Literary periods are essential frameworks for studying literature, offering valuable insights into the historical, cultural, and stylistic contexts that shape literary works. By understanding key literary periods, readers can deepen their analysis, appreciate the evolution of literature, and gain a richer, more informed reading experience. Happy learning! Great job! Let's go! Wow! Thank you for watching. See you next time.